Wicked is famous for blurring the line between good and evil, but I've realized these films actually do the opposite. The key's in a scene that's more than it seems. The Ozdust party that Galinda had persuaded Elphaba to attend, wearing the infamous pointy black hat that became the instant subject of mockery. The irony, of course, is that Galinda had just learned that Elphaba did her the favor of a lifetime, and demanded that Madame Morrible include her in their private sorcery seminar. It's the perfect setting for Galinda's self-absorbed heart to show another side of itself. But there's more going on here.
I'll say this much. She doesn't give a twig what anyone thinks.
Of course she does. She just pretends not to.
Like several other moments in the Wicked movies, this scene's hard to watch, but what makes it so brilliant is it challenges our conception of two characters at the same time. Until this point, the film may have seemed pretty black and white. Elphaba was the smart, self-assured hero developing her powers, while Galinda was popular, but unaware of anything beyond herself. Everyone else fell into various other simple molds, but here Galinda actually sees something in someone that everyone else missed, including myself as a viewer. She sees that, for all her self-assuredness, Elphaba does care what others think, as the movie hinted at earlier.
And yes, I have always been green.
And the defensiveness, is that a recent development?
Elphaba is bold and headstrong, but she's still attached to others' opinions. Galinda is unaware and self-absorbed, but she's also deeply insightful when she manages to look past herself. The labels we'd thrown on them didn't capture their complexity. And that revelation flows straight into a moment that subtly foreshadows the film's climax.
I feel awful.
Why? It's not like it's your fault.
No, not at all. It's not like her petty manipulation is what led Elphaba to her breaking point in this scene. And when she steps in to stand up for Elphaba, she may not be the purely selfless hero she appears to be. She's likely motivated, in part, by a desire to ease her own guilt. Elphaba's rebellion at Ozdust is the same way. It's a brave stand against the labels put on her, but like she later admits in Wicked for Good, some of her seemingly good actions were also motivated by a desire for attention. So if people's broad labels are misled by appearances and fail to capture the nuance of others or their actions, why should we place any value in them? Well, that's why this scene sets up and really necessitates Wicked's most iconic moment, the moment when Elphaba finally lets go of caring about the labels that still had a hold on her at that dance, the moment she defies gravity. I seriously wish I could play the song here without copyright trouble. It's fantastic. And Wicked for Good builds on this idea further by asking if those misguided labels are even worth resolving, or if it's actually sometimes best to leave them, though I won't spoil the reasons why. So in this story, good and bad aren't a product of what others label them. If that were the case, they'd be meaningless, but if they're real, then they're independent of what others label them. And that's the surprising thing about Wicked. It tells us that good and bad are objectively real, especially if you understand the tragic circumstances behind its creation. The Wicked movies are adaptations of both the musical and the 1995 book by Gregory Maguire that inspired it. Maguire is a gay, practicing Catholic who spent years feeling torn between his faith and his sexuality. He once shared that the isolation of trying to reconcile those parts of his identity drove him to consider suicide. That painful inner conflict became Elphaba's story. In his words, I remember getting twisted by what I thought to be contrary impulses. That led me to the story of a person who has the same impulses. Elphaba wants, more than anything else, to do no harm to the world, and indeed to assist it. And yet she's twisted by the way she's looked at, by the fear she strikes in other people's hearts. It's a topic that hits close to home for me, but this video isn't meant to cover the Catholic stance on LGBTQ+ matters. There are better sources for that. Just understand that Elphaba's pain through her struggle was, sadly, a reflection of the author's own pain. Likewise, his decision to continue practicing a faith that professes an objective good is reflected by Wicked's treatment of good and evil as objective realities. In the book, it's done by exploring the origin of evil through a much darker plot with terrorism, torture, sexual assault, and plenty of other seriously R-rated content. It seems impossible that the adaptations could share the same themes as this story, but that's what makes them so interesting. They do, as Maguire has repeatedly confirmed. They just took the opposite route to get there. Instead of searching for evil's source, they depict a refusal to give up on the concept of an ideal good, even after becoming disenchanted with the messy truth behind most of what we label good or bad. As Elphaba says in Wicked for Good,
We can't let good be just a word. It has to mean something.
if good were subjective, it would mean whatever we labeled good is good, and that's all there is to it. But if there's any objective good, then the label only means something when it's aligned with that reality. After all, you can sift through the nuance all you want, but at the end of the day, each action and each person is closer to one end of the spectrum than the other. And make no mistake, for all the nuance I pointed out earlier, Galinda's decision to dance with Elphaba was, on the whole, overwhelmingly good. By the way, that tear was real, as was Ariana reaching over and wiping it. The whole thing was unplanned. The movie emphasizes this with its soundtrack, which it frequently uses to let us know where actions fall. It also portrays each character as a culmination of their actions. It's not black and white, especially when a good character does a bad thing. But the cumulative effect is a clear distinction between good characters and bad. In Wicked for Good, this is further emphasized by placing characters in identical circumstances, yet seeing how some view it through the lens of gratitude, others resentment, and each responding accordingly. The subjective lens they choose reveals the objective differences of their hearts. I want to close by sharing one more moral complexity explored by Wicked for Good: our actions' outcomes. Sometimes it seems like the best intentions bear the worst consequences, and it can make it all the more tempting to give up on the idea of an objective good at all. But as you watch Wicked for Good, or reflect on it if you've already seen it, I invite you to pay attention to the downstream impact from Galinda's decision to step out onto the dance floor that night. She couldn't have known what it would be in that moment, but pay attention to it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next week.